The Jaylen Brown trade is actually a really interesting trade, and you really have to look at it from a different perspective. This is probably about 5 or 6 days after the trade has gone down. Brad Stevens recently did a press conference talking about this trade, and he really is talking about the direction that the league is going in, and with the cap space, having 70% of their cap tied into two players, and getting more of that flexibility and getting more depth. That's really what he talked about in his press conference. And would you actually kind of understand this trade? Because you have to think about the options that's out there. Rockets was an option trying to get Alfred Sengun, which would have been pretty nice. Hey, Sacramento could have thrown Sabonis at Jaylen Brown. I don't know if Sacramento's going to give up the draft capital, but they could have thrown something at him. The Clippers were trying to go ahead and make a deal, but would it make sense for the Clippers to go ahead? I believe Kawhi Leonard was already moved prior to the Jaylen Brown trade. I might be wrong with that. But they lost out on Giannis Antetokounmpo. That was their main option in trying to go ahead and get. They did not give up the assets to go ahead and secure him. And when people hear the 70% cap and you think about the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade, yeah, you're still would have been tied up into a lot of cap space, but Giannis is arguably a better player than Jaylen Brown, so they missed out on that option. So they had to pivot. And they sent him to the Philadelphia 76ers for Paul George, a 2031 first round pick, some 2028 pick, a lot of swap roles and stuff like that, and a couple second round picks. And when you really get a chance to go ahead and think about this trade, it's really a trade in trying to go ahead and get a lot of cap flexibility. You don't have to go ahead and extend Paul George, but when you really think about this trade from a chess perspective, and I'm really thinking that from that standpoint, the Philadelphia 76ers have draft capital inside of Tyrese Maxey. VJ Askham has to go ahead and get extended pretty soon. Joel Embiid is making $60+ million a year right now. And Jaylen Brown is making $60 million a year. So yeah, $40+ million tied to Tyrese Maxey. And his contract's gonna have to come up soon. If you want, you have to decide between Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid. And if it comes down to a scenario where you have to go ahead and trade Joel Embiid is gonna be really hard to go ahead and trade. So the 76ers window is a 2 to 3 year max window. And we realize this move from a chess perspective, hey, the Sixers, they're going to be good this year. Next year, I really don't. Hopefully next year, right? But the third year, if this team does not win it all, they're going to have to make a lot of tough decisions. Jaylen Brown's value is probably going to be not as high in 2 years because he's making so much money. You have to go ahead and extend him. If they do extend him, hey, they're forced to keep him. Now you have to make a tough decision between Joel Embiid, VJ Askham, and Tyrese Maxey. That is a lot of capital into 4 players right there. And that's where the tough decisions come down to. And by Boston sending them over to the Philadelphia 76ers, it might destroy them from the inside out. And it's kind of a unique perspective to go ahead and think about this trade because not that many people are talking about this from this perspective and thinking that the Celtics got completely fleeced. I'm not a Celtics fan. I always see Paul George and some picks. Hey, that is not a good return for Jaylen Brown. Alfred Sengun would have been a pretty solid return. That was an option out there. The Clippers could have did no one. The Portland Trailblazers, they're not going to give up Denny. They went ahead and got John Morant before the Jaylen Brown trade. So they were out the. There wasn't that many teams out there in the Jaylen Brown sweepstakes, and people forget that too. The Celtics weren't really forced to go ahead and move Jaylen Brown this quickly. They could have ran it back this year and saw, hey, where would this team go ahead and lead us to? Where would a team with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum healthy for a full season, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, all those other guys, where would that team go ahead and take me at? And that is the true question right there. Where would that team go ahead and take me at? They did not get a chance to go ahead and see a fully revamped roster with Mitchell Robinson too. They didn't get a chance to go ahead and do that. In my opinion, do I think that was the right thing to go ahead and do? I probably maybe would have ran it back, but if they want to go ahead and jump the ship and get the draft capital, hey, they could go ahead and get the draft capital and get Paul George and things like that. But when you really think it from the other perspective of that way of, hey, Jaylen Brown might end up like a Russell Westbrook situation in the Houston Rockets. Obviously, in the Russell Westbrook trade, the Oklahoma City Thunder got Chris Paul and picks. That was a great haul for a. Russell Westbrook was 2 years off of his MVP season. He was still a really, really averaging a triple double. He was a really good player. The Jaylen Brown situation might end up like that in this Philadelphia 76ers. If he does get extended, it might be a little bit different. But if he doesn't get extended and they write out this full contract for the next 2 years, Jaylen Brown might be on his next team in the next 2 years because they have a lot of draft capital, they have a lot of cap space, and they have to make tough decisions. They keep Joel Embiid, if they keep VJ Escom, if they keep Tyrese Maxey, VJ Escom is going to get probably a $30 million extension, maybe even more. Tyrese Maxey is going to get his 40 to 50 M's. Joel Embiid's already making his 50 to 60, making his 60 M's right now. There's a lot of tough decisions that the Philadelphia 76ers have to go ahead and make. And arguably, in the next 5 years, this might sound crazy, in the next 2 to 3 years, the Boston Celtics might end up being in a better spot than the Philadelphia 76ers. Because the Boston Celtics have so much cap flexibility, have so much flexibility now. And if they continue, if Peyton Pritchard takes a jump, Derek White takes a jump, obviously they're not really a championship contender right now, and at least not a top contender, and that's completely okay. They weren't gonna really the championship odds. I would have ran it back to see, hey, this is the final year between this Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum experiment. It's saying, hey, can we go all the way with this roster? And if we can't, hey, then it's rightfully so to go ahead and truly blow it up. But the relationship was so bad with the organization and stuff like that. So they had a lot of media pressures and stuff like that. I had to go and pull the trigger. But that's a unique perspective to think about this trade. Let me know what you think. Peace. And it's cool kind of court out here, it's outdoors and stuff like that. It's kind of a unique way to make some content.